This is Houston Newsmakers with Cambrell Marshall.
Good morning and welcome to Houston Newsmakers, where we will dig in a bit to a very contentious topic: what to do about the City of Houston pension problem. Joining me is City of Houston Controller Chris Brown, who has been ringing the alarm bells for more than a year about the need to change the City of Houston pension system. Former mayoral candidate Bill King, who has also called for change, but not the kind of change proposed by Mayor Turner. Welcome to both of you this morning. We have a lot to talk about this morning for sure, but I want to provide some background to some of you and what seemed like a big turning point back in September when Mayor Turner announced that the basic foundation of an agreement had been laid. And here's how Channel 2's Phil Archer reported that announcement back in September.
Mayor Turner insists it's the only workable plan to reduce billions in unfunded pension liabilities and ensure the city doesn't run up more debt in the future.
This plan is in firefighters' best interest, police officers' best interest, municipal workers' best interest, Houstonians' best interest, business best interest, and for those who are fiscally conservative, it does so in a cost-neutral fashion.
It calls for police, fire, and municipal workers to immediately cut $2.5 billion from current pension plans and for the city to issue $1 billion in pension bonds. The rest of the $7.7 billion in unfunded liabilities would be paid down over 30 years. But firefighters still haven't signed off on a provision that would allow the city to renegotiate contributions and employee benefits should costs increase in the future. The mayor says he plans to seek legislative approval of the plan with or without firefighter support.
There needs to be an element in this plan that not only fixes the numbers, but fixes the problems.
And some critics claim the numbers simply won't work.
Until we move to a defined contribution plan, like the private sector did 2 or 3 decades ago, we're not going to solve this problem. It's not going to be reformed.
So, what's happened since that news conference and what progress is being made?
Well, thanks for having me. We've, in that conference, I was actually sitting just to the mayor's right. I agree, as the city controller, this is a good plan. We will immediately, upon signing in the state legislature, eliminate $2.5 billion of unfunded liability. And that's $2.5 billion of negotiated benefit cuts that current and future retirees have agreed to. Where have we gone? Since then, we've been able to get that passed by the pension funds, by City Council, a 16-to-1 vote by City Council, and it's moved on to the state legislature. Now, in the process of drafting that bill, unfortunately, one of the state senators has included a provision that requires us to get voter approval for the $1 billion of pension obligation bonds that we'd included in that plan. Now, the interesting thing about that, this is money that is already owed to the pension system. At 8.5%, we've basically borrowed that money. We would like to issue those pension bonds. If we were able to do that today, the market's around 4.5%. So some cost savings there. This could potentially derail this plan. And as you mentioned, Cambrell, that I've been calling for action and sounding the alarm. Every day that we fail to get this plan enacted, it costs the taxpayers over $1 million a day in additional unfunded liability. So time for action is now.
Bill, you've kind of not been in favor of this plan all along. What's the difference between what's being proposed and what you expected, what you would want to see?
There are some things I like about the plan.
Okay.
Certainly the benefit cuts, and I've always been in favor of using bonds for to shore up the plans. And by the way, it's not exactly accurate to say this is money that was owed. This $1 billion is what we're putting in because the plan's investment performance has been so abysmal in the last 2 years. They missed their investment goals by $1.3 billion in just the last 2 years, and this money is really to replace what they should have earned, and those plans are what they said they were going to earn.
Well, then that's changed.
That's actually not right. So the reason that we're repaying this money into the pension fund systems is because we've deferred $1.1 billion in annual payments to the police and fire plan. And again, we've borrowed that money from the pension plan. So in this plan, Bill, we're getting $2.5 billion of cost savings.
Look,
but we're doing that. We're doing that because we have to pay back. We have to pay back the money that we owe first.
But look, you're acting
so
like
$1 billion
taxpayers haven't been putting. Look. Since Bill White did his deal in 2004, which was a reform supposed to solve the problem, we put in $600 million. Taxpayers put in $600 million. Since then, they've put in $3.2 billion additional dollars. That is enough, by the way, to fix every street in Houston. It's enough to do Meyerland 10 times over. They put in $3.2 billion, and the debt still went up 3 times. That's not because the taxpayers weren't putting in money. It's because the investments have been earning 5.5% instead of the 8.5% that they told us they were going to.
Isn't this new proposal designed to fix that?
Clear distinction. Bill White, yes, did do reforms, but no reforms to current retirees. And Bill, as you know, the lion's share of the cost savings is with current retirees. Bill White, and great mayor and to his success, made changes, but only to future retirees, not to current. This plan makes changes to current retirees. So yes, we did issue pension obligation bonds in the past, but we didn't really fix the problem. This plan fixes the problem. We need to get it passed and stop playing politics.
We know.
The future of Houston is at stake, and those that are not on board with this are going to cause a major problem if we don't get this
Which
done.
is an interesting point, though, Bill, in terms of starting with this point and then continuing from this point, from at least something that stopped the can from being kicked down the road. Is that part of what's going on?
I'm in favor of passing this bill, but I want to add DC plans for new employees to it. There's nothing inconsistent with that. There's nothing that keeps us from adding DC plans. And look, 96% of private sector employees are in defined contribution plans today. We know that this works. This corridor mechanism, this cap they're talking about, nobody's ever tried it. It's a completely untested, experimental idea. Nobody has any idea how it will work. By the way, it is hideously complex, 250 pages long. Nobody has any idea whether it works. We know DC plans work, so why not do belt and suspenders and add DC plans to this?
So you did say that you were in favor of seeing this plan pass. I thought I heard you say that. So that's.
I will support this.
Hey,
plan.
that's what I've been asking for years.
I'll support. I've said this from the very beginning. I'll support this plan if we add DC plans for new employees, and if voters get to vote on bonds. Look, we don't issue bonds in this state without voters getting to vote on it. And by the way, these two things are overwhelmingly supported by the majority of Houstonians.
So to the bond issue, in 2003, the state legislature passed a law that said pension obligation bonds do not need to go to the voters for approval. So that law is still in place. I know Bill is working to change that law, but as it stands right now, the city of Houston can issue pension obligation bonds and has done it in the past.
The Fire Pension Board has, okay, go ahead and finish.
So putting that provision into the bill would disproportionately affect Houston and require us to make those votes. And all it is time. Again, it's $1 million a day. So if we do it next year, it costs us another $300 million.
Are you thinking that there's a way to get, are we making progress, Bill, at all?
I think we are making some progress on it. I mean, there's discussions going on in Austin. And look, there is nothing inconsistent with adding DCs to this existing plan. It just makes it a better plan.
Are you?
Now,
go ahead.
And let me also say, look, if issuing this $1 billion is such a great idea, and frankly, I think it is a good idea, I'd support it, then you ought to be able to go to the voters and say, this is a great idea, we want you to approve it. And if you don't think the voters will approve that, then there must be, you don't have any confidence that it's really a good idea. Look, we vote on bonds in this state. The legislature made a mistake in 2003, allowing general obligation bonds to be approved without voter approval. We need to wipe that out, not just in Houston, but every place across the state.
Well, until the law changes, you've got the law on your side at this point,
we do.
It seems.
That's
so
right. Well, unless they've written it into the bill. So that's where it complicates things, because then if they pass that agreement, then we have to go to the voters. And again, it's a timing issue. You know, I've made that call to action. I've said that we've got to continue to be diligent to resolve this problem immediately. So this is just, you know, it's like a timeout to ice the kicker.
How optimistic are you that's going to get done?
I'm optimistic. I think that there isn't another alternative. I mean, if you look at Dallas and what they're going through, you know, they're having to make 11th hour Hail Mary changes. We don't want to get in that position. And I think the state legislature, I think all the people that represent the city of Houston understand the seriousness of this, and they're taking it serious, and they will work to get this done in this session of the state legislature.
Final thought for you?
I'm worried about it passing because we still don't have a bill. I mean, we're now a few days away from the bill filing deadline, and we still have not seen a bill. You know, and I don't know if you've actually seen the draft bills or not, but
they've got it.
But they haven't shared them with City Council. And so the draft bill that was sent to Austin had many problems in it, technical problems. And the Legislative Council is working on that. We still don't have a bill to even look at.
I think
police and municipal have been drafted. There's been a holdout from fire and getting some of the actuarial data, so the bills are on their way.
Well, we thank you both for coming in and giving us updates on it. It's going to be a nail biter, but at least the can has been kicked down the road a bit, and it's going to stop being kicked. At least
hopefully, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Brown, Bill King, thank you for coming in. Appreciate you coming in as always.